I just think a man and woman should be married together, not man and man or a woman and a woman.
I just don't agree with lesbians and gays. I just don't like the fact of it.
The most important relationship is marriage and family. That's best between a man and a woman.
Northern Ireland finds itself in a kind of same-sex marriage sandwich. Here they know that their gay neighbours in Britain have been getting married since last year, and very soon couples will be doing it next door in the Republic of Ireland, where I'm from. Online and right here in Belfast, there's a feeling that Northern Ireland is going to be next, surely. But if there was going to be a change in the law here, wouldn't it have happened already? And should these guys be getting their hopes up?
Come on all up further, please. Thousands of people still behind you.
Sorry, I'll go back.
This is Jane, and right now she's thinking that there are slightly more people in the crowd than she'd expected. Last estimate, 10,000.
Marriage to each other, and
Jane asked Laura to marry her last week at their home near Belfast.
I walked into about here and was like, "What are you doing? Why is
It did take Laura a bit by surprise.
our living room?"
And I was standing exactly as I am now.
And she literally was standing looking.
For me, it feels second best.
Yeah, she got down on one knee.
Give her a box.
And give me the ring.
It's someone else telling you that you belong in a different system to them. I mean, we're both quite strong individuals and we deal with that okay. For other people, it's really difficult. For young people struggling to come out.
Fight for equality, sign our petition. Fight for real LGBT rights and marriage equality now.
Hi guys, do you want to support the petition for marriage equality? Brilliant, thank you very much guys.
Steve came out to his family 7 years ago. It caused a lot of tension. He says he tried to take his own life as a result and he was homeless for a short time. But his parents are more accepting these days. How do you find people generally? The reaction you get?
They're generally quite positive. I mean, people, if they're against it, they wouldn't really tell you up front, but if they're for it, they're very enthusiastic. And that seems to be the majority of the opinion.
Opinion polls vary, and if one side is in the lead, it's not by that much. Although Belfast City Council and the biggest trade union here have come out in favour.
There was one fella who took it and says he agrees with marriage equality, but he doesn't know why in the hell anyone wants to get married in the first place. So.
That's a whole different documentary.
Yeah, it's a whole different segment, that.
But popular opinion's not the most important thing here. Because of Northern Ireland's past, decisions are made differently. So a quick history lesson. Almost 100 years ago, Ireland broke away from British rule. Well, most of Ireland did, apart from the northeast corner of the island, where lots of people were loyal to the British monarchy. So that part became what we know today as Northern Ireland and remains part of the UK. But it split the population, in some cases literally. This is a 60-foot high wall in West Belfast. You can come and sign it if you want. It's about half a mile long. And on the other side, you have the nationalist community. They want the island to be one nation of Ireland. On this side, you've got the Unionists, and they support Northern Ireland's union with Britain. For 30 years, a period known as the Troubles, 3,500 people were killed as paramilitary groups from both sides attacked each other. Very few families have been unaffected. It's mostly peaceful these days, but the political parties are still deeply divided. One example, Sinn Féin on the nationalist side supports same-sex marriage, but the majority of unionist politicians don't. Unionists generally promote Protestant values and Britishness. And for many, the highlight of the calendar is the 12th of July. That's what the bonfire's for. And it'll burn for days. For these communities, it's a festival celebrating when Protestant King William of Orange beat a Catholic army in 1690. And by far the biggest unionist political party is the Democratic Unionist Party, the DUP.
So, I mean, this area has always been like this, very proud unionist area.
We're going back to meet Steve on the estate where he grew up.
Flags and lampposts, bonfire every summer.
How would you describe unionists?
Very proud. There's a great sense of identity, a great sense of culture, history, but it's almost sometimes very entrenched.
What is growing up as a young gay guy in this kind of community feel like? Is it an issue?
No, not massively so. I mean, people generally are very positive to your face, but people in this area tend to vote more along green and orange lines.
Nationalist, unionist lines.
Yeah, exactly. And the biggest unionist party, the DUP, they dominate this area in terms of electoral success, and they've always been very anti-gay, anti-marriage equality. If I'm a unionist and I'm gay, there's very little people I could put an X beside in the ballot box.
As we said, Sinn Féin back same-sex marriage. But Steve, as a unionist, says voting for a nationalist party isn't really an option.
My identity and my politics and my beliefs wouldn't allow me to do so.
So your unionism is more important than your, I want to say your ability to marry, but I mean it's broader than that, isn't it? It's LGBT rights in general.
It's going to sound stupid, but I was probably unionist before I was gay. You know, and even though being gay isn't a choice, this is the culture I was brought up in. This is who I am. It's as much a part of me as being gay.
The DUP are the biggest party in the Northern Ireland Assembly. They're staunchly against same-sex marriage. So this is Stormont, and it's where equal marriage has been blocked by the Assembly members. I mean, it's beautiful. It's all a bit ironic, really, because it's so glamorous and perfect for a gay wedding. We're here to meet Kathy Gorman. She's a professor of politics.
Thanks for meeting us.
No problem.
This is amazing.
Just explain how this place works.
Well, if you compare to Westminster and the recent general election, the largest party in the Westminster election becomes the government, and that's not the case here. So in Northern Ireland, it's not the largest party that becomes the government here, but actually it's representatives from all of the main political parties. That is a mandatory coalition. It's a fixed and forced government. The parties don't choose to come together, and that creates all sorts of problems when it comes to passing legislation.
Because unusually, parties at Stormont have the power to block proposals made by their opponents. Both sides use this power, the DUP to block same-sex marriage.
If 30 members of this assembly decide to come together, they can effectively veto any bill that comes to the floor of the assembly or any motion that is on the floor of the assembly for discussion.
And how many members do the DUP have here?
The DUP have 36 or 38, so as a party, they can by themselves veto everything.
The DUP are prepared, but it hasn't come to that though, because overall, Assembly members have voted against equal marriage 4 times. Well, this is when we would want to hear from the DUP. We have called them, emailed them, made approaches on social media, but all they will tell us is that anything they have to say on this topic has already been said. We didn't know these guys would be here today. By pure chance, there is a big unionist festival in Carrickfergus. This is a big DUP area, and because the party wouldn't speak to us, we thought we'd come here and speak to some of their voters. And we want to know whether same-sex marriage attracts people to the party or whether voters feel strongly about it at all.
I would agree with a woman and a man, not man to man, as it says in the Bible, you know.
I just don't agree with lesbians and gays. I just don't like the fact of it. It's people in your face kissing it on the street,
Do you think the DUP and their stance on equal marriage is representative of the majority of people?
I would say yes.
They are totally solely for anti-gay marriage and they're anti-abortion, and they're 2 strong issues that I feel very strongly about myself personally.
So, we know that mightn't be necessarily the most scientific process in the world, but what it does show is that the majority of people here who are opposed to same-sex marriage come at it from a religious background. That in itself mightn't be a massive surprise, but I think we should learn a little bit more about it. You do notice a lot of churches when driving around in Northern Ireland. Religion and politics mix here. We're going to meet Peter Linus. He's from the Christian group, the Evangelical Alliance. They stand side by side with the DUP on same-sex marriage. What's the main concern around equal marriage that you feel, that the DUP feel, that lots of people in Northern Ireland feel?
The most important relationship is marriage and family. So my understanding from the biblical perspective is that that's best between a man and a woman, and that's the foundational unit for society. Once we start changing that, we're going to open up all sorts of repercussions, many of which we're just not aware of what those might be. And my question is, if it's around equality, let's improve the civil partnership legislation, let's sort that out. If it's about love, why are we not seeing a campaign to have any number and combination of people who love each other being allowed to marry? And anyway, since when did anybody who was in love care what the state or the law said in these matters? I think it's really unhelpful to say Northern Ireland's backward and that we're discriminatory backwater. I'd love to celebrate Northern Ireland. I think it's an amazing place, that we protect the unborn in a different different way than many other places, and we respect and understand marriage in a different way. We're a different society, and we need to understand that.
Here's a predicament. If you're gay and unionist in Northern Ireland, then who do you vote for? Because lots of people have been telling us they don't want to vote for the DUP because of their opposition to equal marriage, but there's not that many other options. So we've come out for a night in Belfast to ask people what they do. Last time politicians here voted on equal marriage, only 4 of the 53 unionists were in favour. They were from the DUP, but also the smaller Ulster Unionist Party and the TUV Party.
I've been brought up as a Protestant my whole life, so I don't agree with what the EP are doing, completely don't. And then I just don't care what Sinn Féin are doing, you know. Honestly, they have their...
So you're just not voting?
I'm just not voting.
You can't vote DUP because, well, they're against the gays.
We need what they did down south, where the people get to vote for what they believe in, instead of politicians doing it for us.
Do you vote DUP?
No.
Who do you vote?
Alliance.
Why? What do they stand for?
They support equality. Half of the Alliance didn't even back up the whole, the gay thing as well. So it's like, well, who do we vote for? The only person that I had to vote for is the Green Party. Or you don't vote.
These are all very kind of small parties, and
they
don't have a lot of sway.
Yeah, they're not going to win it.
You've got a little thing on your face.
I look gorgeous.
If people here did get to vote on the issue themselves and it was passed, the Assembly wouldn't have to change the law. And anyway, campaigners on both sides are afraid it would turn into a mudslinging match that no one would come out of well. LGBT organisations are relying on a plan B. Solicitor Kieran Moyna has taken on a case they hope will be a game changer.
Second, you're the man everyone's been talking about. Thank you very much. Go on ahead.
So, 2 guys went over to London, they got married, came home and realised that their marriage was actually recognised as a civil partnership in Northern Ireland. We're asking the court to declare the marriage as a valid marriage in Northern Ireland instead of this downgrading to civil partnership. What everyone says in general about court cases is it's a last resort, and these people that take cases feel that they have rights and they want to exercise their rights.
Is that an unfortunate position to be in, to be dealing in last resorts?
I think so. Look at the positive progression made down in the south with the yes referendum and all the positive discussions that happened around that and the social movement, whereas here we don't seem to be able to have that.
I wonder if dragging the authorities through court might ruin the feel-good factor a bit, but I wanted to know if that's important. So we've come to meet the Belfast City Rockets. They're an LGBT roller derby team.
Nailed it! Let's play derby!
What's with the nickname?
I think I've always taken it as like a derby persona.
Sorry, at this point no one's going to be looking at you, they're going to be looking at somebody who just fell behind you. Maeve with the pink helmet is from the Republic of Ireland, where same-sex marriage was passed last month.
I've never been so proud of my little country the day that it actually came out as a yes vote. And now it is kind of a badge of pride a little bit. It's like not only do we have it, but we chose it, we all voted for it.
So would it feel the same if the law was changed because of a court battle?
I think compared to the referendum down the site, it would seem a bit like, oh, that sucks. But if it got passed, could you imagine the excitement?
It might not have that, feel-good wow factor that the referendum seemed to have. But if it's court, if it's enforced, whatever, it doesn't matter. I just want people to be able to get married to who they want to marry.
So I'm not even trying to move, I'm just rolling at this stage.
The campaign for a same-sex marriage isn't going away. In fact, if anything, it's getting stronger. But those who are opposed to it are just as passionate. And you get the feeling if there is going to be a change here, it might not happen soon.